he's doing, how it all turned to lies. Sometimes I think that it's better to never ask why.
It is my pleasure to welcome you to SME's Weekly. Today, I am OKULAJA. You remember the program is the platform where we discuss how to grow and sustain small and medium enterprises in Nigeria, as well as how to grow the industry. If you ask any manufacturer in Nigeria today what the biggest problem facing the industry is, I can bet you power is the #1 problem. Last week, during my stay in Abuja, I spoke with a member of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Mr. RASAQ OKULAJA, who is into CDs and DVD duplication. He is the MD CEO of CORART Ventures Limited. As far as quality and standards is concerned, among many other issues in this exclusive interview, enjoy it.
Ever wonder about what he's doing? How it all turned to lies. Sometimes I think that it's better to never ask why.
Thank you so much, Mr. RASAQ, for allowing us to speak with you, even though it was on a short notice. Let me start by asking you, how would you appraise as a manufacturer that sector in the year 2016?
2016 was a make or my year for many manufacturers. In actual fact, I can talk exclusively about my sector. We manufacture CDs and DVDs. Quite a few companies actually closed down. Some of us worked less than 30% capacity. The reason being that the fluctuations in FX policy especially became a big challenge that we found extremely difficult to overcome. When the government came out with this policy, you are trying to make adjustments with your suppliers, with all the places you make your purchases. Within a short while, there's another change. It got to a point that the suppliers just somewhat silently blacklisted Nigeria. They stopped receiving LCs from Nigeria because they'll tell you things like, we don't know when the LCs will come through, we don't know whether there will be cash to back that, and also it was quite a challenging year for manufacturers. I know even beyond my immediate sector, being a member of MAN, anytime we have meetings, everyone is complaining because you couldn't import raw materials to produce, you had staff to pay, so it was quite a challenging year. Business wasn't as exciting as the preceding year.
Of course, coming into 2017 was with great anticipation and expectations. What were you looking forward to as a manufacturer in 2017?
Well, we felt that, give or take, the government had learnt its lessons and they were going to make the necessary adjustments, but the start of the year wasn't still exciting because the policy changes didn't come as early as one expected. But for the new drive that is ongoing, where the CBN quickly reviewed its FX policy, and you can see the effect on the US dollar almost immediately. There's a slight boost in the value of the naira. We are hoping that this is sustained. The fact that now there's a little more liquidity, that will help calm the market, because it became extremely strenuous to get anything bought. You want to open an LC, nobody's listening to you. Just as a follow-up from 2016, it was carried into 2017. In fact, the way the suppliers treat us now is a matter of, we will not do anything with you. Once we wait for you to a point in time, you've given us your LC. If we don't see anything done, we'll cancel your order. And you know what that means. You've made all your projections, you've taking up customers' bookings and all of a sudden you cannot get raw materials. We are hopeful that things will get better. The signs are there, but it's still hovering around the area of what we had in 2016.
Now, you told us that you manufacture DVDs. Now, let's our viewing public tell us a bit more. What is your area of business, and how has it been sustaining it in this very turbulent and unpredictable economic environment?
Okay, my core area of business is replication of CDs and DVDs. I use the word replication because for a lot of persons they are only familiar with duplication, where you take blank CDs and you put that into the replicating machine, or the duplicating towers, and you duplicate your CDs. What we do is quite different. We actually manufacture CDs from raw materials. Our major raw material we use is called polycarbonates. It's a byproduct of petroleum. So everything you see that is affected by the price of oil in the international market, it affects us as well. So you find a situation where you can't get your raw materials in when you need it, and of course the cost and the government policies concerning importation, because everything we do is import based. I can't walk into any market and say I want to buy polycarbonates. All manufacturers who are in the same line of business, we all buy the same raw materials from just a few producers in the world. And 2016, because of the glut in the oil sector, they also had issues producing the raw materials, and that also had effect on us. Even when you had your funds to buy, you couldn't even get the stock because the manufacturers were not as busy as they used to be. So aside replication of CDs and DVDs, we also have a printing press, and we're into advertising and production of everything, television and radio. So that aspect is moving, but the buying power of government and some clients is not like before. There isn't much money in circulation. So that also, there's a slight lull, there's a slowdown in that area of because the strength of the customers, the buying strength of the customers are not there as it used to be. So the economic trend or the economic issues has affected our business in one way or the other. We are not as busy as we used to be, but we are quite hopeful that things will turn around this 2017.
Yes, sourcing raw material for such very intricately delicate business, of course, I know will pose its own ups and downs. How would you describe sourcing raw materials, and where actually do you get raw materials from?
It will surprise you to know that I actually went into that line of business out of anger. Anger because at one time I had this contract to do some CDs for INEC, and I had to go to Lagos to get it done. I had reason to travel that period. My wife just had a baby, and we ended up having to do so much. She had to leave the baby to travel to Lagos because I wasn't in to get the CDs done. That's another story for itself. But when I came back, I said, what will it even take to have this done outside Lagos? So I started the process of finding out how to set up a replicating factory and all that. It took quite a lot. I had to travel to Malaysia, I traveled out several times. The first investment, I got my finger burnt because I ended up coming in with machinery that wasn't up to par as to what we wanted. But we learned the ropes, and today we are there listed among the manufacturers in Nigeria who manufacture CDs. In fact, as it is, we are the only ones outside Lagos, aside a new factory that just opened up in Asaba. It's been a learning curve for us, but what really informed us going into this is I told myself that Abuja, since we are here, I've been in the advertising sector for a while, and the production sector too. We were doing our regular duplication of CDs, but the demand kept increasing. And I just said, look, let's give Abuja a face. Let's create a platform for Abuja. We mustn't run to Lagos for everything. It's come at a price. The investment has come at a price, but I must say that we are growing in it.
Another interesting, usually very unpredictable area for manufacturers in Nigeria is funding. Who has been funding your business, or how easy has it been for you sourcing for funds for your business?
I always say this when I'm asked about funding. The banks will give you all the green light, tell you, come, we can do anything for you, whatever you want. This is a strong synergy. But when you get going and you ask them, okay, it's time, give us the help we need, you will hear things like, could you please bring us the birth certificate of your grandmother? Also get us the birth certificate for her first boyfriend while she was in secondary school. I'm being cynical here because it's very difficult getting funding. I'll give you an example. I've been on a particular funding process for close to 1 year. It's only now that we are beginning to see it take shape. 1 solid year for a businessman. We had projected, we'd done everything, we brought in the machinery. What we were looking for the funding for was, okay, let us get in more raw materials. It's taking us 1 year. From one bank, they took us, wasted our time. We had to take it away from that bank and then approach another bank. And now it's beginning to take shape because, okay, from the delay they gave us, we were able to learn what was it, what was not, what was wrong, what was not wrong, and then we now moved that same request to another bank. And it's beginning to look bright. But to think that we've had to wait for 1 year, employing the number of persons we have as permanent staff and casual staff, it's quite demanding. Whether you are working or not, once you retain those persons, you must pay your salaries. And once you are caught in that web, whatever you think you are saving goes back into salaries. So it's not been funding. I must say it as it is. The banks are not as open as they make it look on the surface. That's the truth.
That takes us to the ease of doing business. Nigeria ranks, I think, 187 out of 189 countries where doing business is practically very, very unpredictable and not easy. What do you think government should be doing at this time to ensure that we move away from that ranking, and that, you know, business or doing business becomes an attractive venture for whoever intends, especially micro, small and medium enterprises?
Number one thing is power. The number one thing is power. In fact, the number 1, number 2, number 3, up to number 10, the 10th on the line is power. The fact that you spend so much money to run your business is a big challenge. For instance, if I have to run the factory for 3 days at a stretch, I'll be talking about nothing less than 2,000-3,000 liters of diesel, because our power requirement is quite big. If I choose to run the bigger generator, every day I will run over 1,200 liters. How can you sustain business when you have to run like that? So the number 1 to the number 10th thing is power. The second thing, most important thing after that, is the economic policies. Every nation that wants to thrive and have a very strong economy must encourage a small and medium businesses. Everywhere you go in the world, they are the ones that drive the economy. The bigger companies, the multinationals, form quite a small percentage. They are employing a lot of persons. But imagine a situation where the vulcanizer on the street, the carpenter has power to do what he needs to do. The barber has power to do what he needs to do. The money that goes back into generating individual power can be turned over to other things. The pressure on government itself will reduce because people will be encouraged to want to go into business. So the situation we have found now is where people are forced to generate their own power at extremely high rates. Very expensive, and that doesn't help anyone at all, where you spend so much money. So what we end up doing is to produce in batches, when in actual fact the factory should be up constantly. It's better for the machinery, saves our time. When we need to produce, for instance, we must warm up our machines for close to 5 hours. You are not producing anything. You are just warming up. So if there's no power there, it will take a lot of courage from you to run your generators for 5 hours, doing nothing. So the number one thing is power. 2, the economic policies must be looked at. And then 3, funding needs to be made available for the upcoming businesses at very attractive rates.
Now, the Bank of Industry is among our development finance institutions. In fact, one of the major organizations where mandated to make cheaper funds available to MSMEs especially, because just yesterday I was at the House of Reps sitting where the acting MD was talking about the year 2016 and making presentation for their budget in 2017. He alluded to the fact that they are the bank where you can of course access with the lowest of interest. But how easy has it been for manufacturers like you who have made efforts to access BOI loans?
When I mentioned to you that we were working on a facility, it's actually a Bank of Industry facility. I must say that they are doing a yeoman's job. They are very open because it didn't take us too long a time to get them to commit to support our business. But the aspects that now involved the commercial banks is what gave us the hassle that has caused all the delay we've had. I know quite a number of persons who have accessed Bank of Industry loans, and it's quite helpful. Compare you getting a loan for 9%, 10% with you going to the commercial banks and they're offering you for 22, 21, 22. By the time they add this one fixed charge, your mother's charge, your wife's charge, and they add all the other charges, it's like 24, 25. Nobody can sustain a business with such margins, because when you factor that in, it will reflect in the cost of your products. You can't compete favorably. There are other things we could have been producing here in Nigeria. We have a lot of ideas we could run with, but when you look at the cost when it's imported, you ask yourself, if I produce here, I'm producing at a higher cost. I can't compete, so you are forced to leave that. And we are talking about looking inwards, saving our foreign exchange, creating a better trade balance between ourselves and all these other countries. But at this rate where it is difficult to manufacture and meet up with the rate at which they are selling, it's not going to be achievable until the banks can bring down their rates. The CBN intervenes more. The CBN too of late is doing extremely well, especially in the agricultural sector. You have a lot of bonds that they've raised and all that. So the Bank of Industry has been doing extremely well, I must say.
Interesting. Now let's move away from this and look at can you tell us? Let's look at the nitty-gritty of DVD manufacturing. Duplicating that business. Tell us about the distribution and marketing side of it, if there is that side at all to it.
Okay, because we don't sell directly to end users, what we do is to manufacture for marketers, major marketers or artists who come. We don't do blank CDs. We only replicate CDs with content. So we don't distribute, we don't market per se. Our marketing is only based on the fact that we have this service to render. And of course, if you want me to talk about how much strain that also puts on your pockets, we have to do a lot. We end up having to make a lot of noise, end up having to reach a lot of persons so that we can get the right patronage to keep us in business. But we don't sell directly to end users.
Yes, one of the gray areas, or one of that, one area that has been, constituting issues and all of that for Nigerian manufacturers is the area of quality and standard. How do you ensure that your product meets international standards of quality? How have you been able to do that?
Beautiful. The fact is this: the standard of CDs we produce in Nigeria is the same standard of CD you find anywhere else in the world. The reason is we use the same machinery. There is no second grade machinery when it comes to replication of CDs. The same brands you find in Nigeria is the same brands you'll find anywhere else in the world. The only area where you have issues of changes, okay, maybe the size of the CD and all that, but we have constantly maintained a standard to ensure that our CDs can be played anywhere in the world. We've had instances where people replicate their CDs from Nigeria and they take it abroad. You don't want your customer calling you back to say, oh, the CDs I got from you, they can't play. So we have machinery in place to ensure that from the onset of our production, we check the quality of the masters. Then when we get to the point of production, we have our quality checkpoints. We check to make sure that the CDs we are replicating meet any standard anywhere in the world. Of course, we are not operating in a lacuna. The NCC, Nigerian Copyright Commission, regulates what we do. So the customers know that if there's anything that is not done right, or the NCC can, without notice, they can just hop into the factory. They want to see what your process is. They want to ensure that you are doing what you are supposed to do. You are not replicating CDs that are not authorized, and that you are producing to standard. It's even very risky for any replicating factory to produce substandard CDs, because if your customer rejects 1 million CDs, there's nothing you can do with it. You cannot recycle it. If you are found culpable, you have to reproduce that same set of CDs. Otherwise, once the bad news goes outside, you are no longer in business. So we're extremely careful with that.
Was there any time you got turned back?
No, very few times that people came in with one challenge or the other. But when we go back and check the process, well, you could have maybe in the course of producing, there's a scratch or whatever. All those ones, we have to remove them and then make up for it, because we also have our mark on the CDs. We have our logo, we have our name inscribed on it. So we are careful. We want people to see it wherever they see it and be free to call us up and say, look, I saw this CD. It's so nice. Of late, we've had testimonies like that. Oh, your CDs can play anywhere. We love what you are doing. We want to do more from different parts of the country. I can mention some international brands who have actually manufactured CDs from us. And it's been quite encouraging to find that happen.
Now, finally, with technology improving every now and then, I'm sure there are updates or upgrades, and there are also don't these machineries become obsolete at any time, or do you do upgrades on them?
What you do, there's good support. You stay on top of your game. You stay in touch with the manufacturers. If there's any upgrade or new technology that is coming up, you try to integrate the one you can integrate. But to change the process itself is quite expensive. So what's important is that what we produce is what is needed, and the process is basic. There isn't much variation you can find. The only things you see is maybe, okay, there's a newer model that can yield a little bit faster, so you can upgrade your machinery. But in terms of whether they go obsolete outrightly, it's very, very rare, because these are not small machinery that you can toss here. Some of them weigh as much as 6-7 tons. So it's not something that you can just say, okay, I don't need this anymore. You take this, you throw it out. Once you set up your factory floor, for you to even make adjustments to it requires a lot. You have your water lines, you have your power lines, you have your air lines. So you can't just say, wake up one night and say, okay, I'm tired of these ones, move it out. To even move out machinery from the factory requires a lot of work. So anything that is like an upgrade, we often look out for it, and we add up to what we have to ensure that we are up to steam.
Interesting. I want to thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us on SME's Weekly today.
Thank you very much.
Have the assurances of my best wishes the rest of your day, and my best wishes too.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having us on the program.
Well, power remains the #1 problem facing the manufacturing industry, not to talk of issues of forex, issues of policies, and many more. If you've enjoyed watching this program, I would like to inform you that the program is open for sponsorship, and we'll also welcome your views and comments via the social media platforms right there on your screen. The program is SME'S Weekly. I want to say a very big thank you for being part of today's show. We'll do it again tomorrow, God willing. I am Tolu Ajayi. Bye for now.